All right, good morning, guys. Appreciate everybody being here today. Just want to first start off. Thoughts and prayers with Ethan Pritchard and his family. It's obviously an extremely just tragic event. For the young man. I got a chance to be there, last night with him and his dad and family, and grateful, for all the support and medical, support that he was able to receive. Our football team, coaches, family, we're all here to support them, and it's absolutely believing, and Maria and I praying for all parts of him and the journey that's ahead. But we definitely appreciate the support from everybody in the community that we feel, and just continue to be with him. Coming off of Saturday, just a lot of gratitude, for this fan base, for the university, for each and every one of the players, coaches, staff, everybody involved. As you go into a first game, there's a lot that pours into it, and I know I said afterwards in the press conference, I'm glory to God for the opportunity I get to be able to lead this program, and I mean that with every bit of my heart. It is an absolute joy to represent Florida State, the position I have, and the responsibility that comes with. But to see a team prepared the way that they prepared, a lot of new faces, a lot of you guys that have been through the journey here, seen the ups, they've seen the downs, some young players that got to get extensive action and make incredible plays and impact, throughout that game, and to have a top 10 opponent come in here, and I felt we were a dominant team, and it was a dominant team win, in one that you saw all different aspects of complementary football. You saw speed and physicality that was played. A team that believed, and that was something that I felt it throughout the preparation. It started back in January, and the competitiveness of what our guys showed and the edge that they brought, and it was a great win. It was a great win for everybody involved. It was awesome to see the fans. I know I mentioned the marching chiefs there. After the game, I mean, it was. I've been here going into my 6th year, and I cannot remember ever just like having just the feeling of what that felt like consistently throughout the course of that game. I mean, it was electric, and I mean, it was throughout my coaching career, I don't know if I've ever been in an atmosphere like that, and so I'm grateful for just everybody involved, and really proud of our players and coaches, and like I said, just everybody around the program, our strength staff, athletic training. I mean, you saw a team that was well prepared, and it was strong, it was physical, and I thought we were the aggressor throughout it, and we talk about how we wanted to play, and we talk about playing smart, and we were disciplined in what we did. I think we had one focused penalty in the course of the game. I saw a team that was very aware of what what situations were showing up, and what we wanted to do schematically, and different things. I thought we played fast, which I talk about that confidence, and that comes from the work. I thought you saw great speed out on the field, and then the physicality that we want to see definitely showed up. I thought we won the game in the trenches. I thought even when you got to the perimeter, you saw big hits from safeties, corners. You saw your linebackers or H-backs, receivers, and then obviously the offensive defensive line performed like we expected them to perform, and it was a great showing against a very talented group, and then lastly to finish, and you look at those 4th down stops that I know I mentioned it right after the game, but the ones that came down to just a handful of inches. I mean, that's effort. It's physicality, it's determination, desire, and even on those plays, I mean, we didn't find ourselves in great position in a couple of those moments, but you saw players that brought that edge and were desperate to win that one play. And then for our offense to go into a 4-minute drill and to be able to finish with the ball in our hands. I mean, it was a great finish to a game where complementary football had to show up, and a lot of great individual performances. And obviously we'll celebrate that. But then what I loved about it is that we won by 2 scores, and I'm kind of pissed off it wasn't more, because there's a lot of areas where it was there were opportunities for us to be so much better. And I know you guys talked to coordinators last night, but you watched the film, and I mean there's an absolute sense of urgency for improvement this week, and that is our focus. It's about what are we willing to do to go take a critical step for improvement for this team and in this program and every individual within it. So we're going to go to work, and we started last night, and our guys came out relatively healthy. We did have a little bit of injury news. Roydell Williams will miss a period of time. The overall extent of that we'll see, but I absolutely hate it for the young man. It's not something that we're expecting to stretch into anything for the season, but it will miss a period of time this week. And obviously I just hate with him to miss anything, because I mean I thought he was a great factor in the game the other day. The 4th down run, there on our own end of the field. I mean he showed power, and he showed toughness, and was definitely a great contributor in that win. So with that we'll continue to move forward. And just any questions?
We'll start with Ira on your right.
I'd like to actually start with a 2-for-1 this time. And actually, first I just want to follow up a little bit on Ethan and the players. What kind of support are you guys providing for his teammates today? I know it's normally an off day, and then the second part was turning back to the team. When did you see this physicality coming? Was it something you saw in the spring, or was it just building over time?
Yeah, I mean, so with this morning, I was there in the hospital till early hours, and I through Ethan's dad, gave me the opportunity to be able to share just a little bit of where things were, and then you chose to have an opportunity for a gathering with the team this morning, just to kind of give them an update and your perspective of where that was, where that is. And like I said, we're grateful for all the resources around our players. I'm grateful for their hearts. I mean they love this family that we get to be a part of, and there's a lot of emotions, and I've got a lot of emotions, I mean, through it. And but being able to know that there's great outlets here to support them through this, and we'll continue with that. And then so I'm sorry, the second.
The physicality of this team, did you see it coming all year, or is it in the spring you saw it?
Yeah, no, I mean it's been hard earned, and this has been you got to develop physicality through the work, and we believe in the mindset that this team has. But when you're sitting there and what you do in the weight room, what you do in practice, when you get the opportunity to go against the guys on the other side of the ball, I mean there's nothing soft about this football team. And when you're competitive and you're willing to go and every day, we talk about iron sharpening iron. Well, that doesn't happen because it's nice and easy. I mean, you need friction. You need somebody that's going to be willing to pour their best into you. And if that shows up, then that just becomes a part of your DNA. And every team talks about wanting to be physical, but we want to go earn the physicality. And I think they've done a good job with that in just the way they competed in practice. It's going to be something we have to continue to do. You got to be smart, and obviously try to maintain health and all things when it comes to it. And I think that's where the coordinators, we've had a great balance in that, and we've tried to, we're going to continue to push, but obviously it's you got to get them to a point where when they step on that field on game day, I mean it is their best showing up, and I think we saw that with the physical nature.
All right, next will be Corey for one question.
I'm not going to ask you to rank your portal guys unless you want to, but how valuable is kind of what does he mean to that offense? Because it seems like the way you and Gus talk about him, it's almost like he's a coach out there.
No, he's different. I mean, he is like, and I'll say this, like you kind of group him. I mean, that offensive line group, I mean, is really, really impressive. And you see and feel that the leadership, the want to. I thought Luke is. I mean, he's come in and really, he embraces it all. And I mean, I love the young man. I mean, I believe that he's got a chance to be, one of the best, center in college football. I mean, I really see him in that level. And it's the guys that are around him that pour in. I thought Richie played at a very high level. Coming off of an injury from last year. I thought all those guys, they showed up and didn't, no means played a perfect game. A lot of technique, fundamentals, but you feel Gunnar Hansen's passion and energy. You saw, Adrian Medley, was really, really good. Had a couple of huge blocks. I mean, Micah Pettis. I mean, the sky's the limit for what he's going to be able to do. And like I said, none of those guys played perfect, but they were dominant, and it was good to see. Jacob Rizzi is a guy that he didn't get to play in the game the other day, and I mean he's a guy that I view as a starter in my mind of all things. Like, he is ready for opportunity, and Andre Otto, another young guy that's coming along, and just like you just see the push from that group. I think Herb's done a great job with them, but to speak on the value of Luke, I mean he's everything. I mean, he really is. Like, you get the total package when you get him, and so I'm really proud of his investment in this program.
We'll come over here to Chris.
Kind of a two-part one question.
We're getting out of control here.
You guys stayed in front of chains consistently in that game. How much is that a credit to? Sorry.
Jeez.
You guys stayed in front of chain consistently in that game. How much is it a credit to the entire group of the offense, but also Tommy and his ability to erase when things go sideways, maybe on a play?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great plan. With Gus, offensive staff. I mean, being able to be aggressive, but also to be able to, put ourselves in a great position. That's one of the things we had a big point of emphasis, here in the off season of, understanding that, the early down success rates, the things that we talked about both sides of the ball has been a big focus. And I thought that was a key factor in the victory. Yes, we've always put a lot of emphasis on the cash downs, third and fourth downs, and we definitely won those as well. But that early down success, offensively, really allowed us to be multiple, aggressive. Tommy, and made some things happen, which when you have playmakers, they're going to do that, and it's not always going to look or go exactly how you draw it up. And I thought he was great in his reactionary movements and decisions that he made, and obviously it was a great spark.
Brendan.
Everybody just refused talking to Mike. When the physicality, like, you expect it in the trenches, that's a necessity, but when it transcends into like the secondary, some of the things Earl and Ashland were doing, or Randy and Deuce on the other side of the ball, when it's not the biggest guys who are enforcing things physically, like, what does that do for football teams' mentality? That kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it does a lot, because you see you see it transcending, but that's what you desire. Like I said, every team's going to talk about wanting to be physical, right? But is it just a singular focus, or is it a program mentality? And we put that on display in week 1. My expectation is for it to be better in week 2, and then in week 3 and week 4. So it is like, that's a baseline. And this team has embraced the challenge of what it is to be physical. They have they've got the right thing in their chest. That's with that edge and desperation. I mean, it comes from the heart, and they put on display their heart and the willingness to go pour it out. And so I think we will be better physically as we continue to clean up some of the fundamentals, the techniques, the leverages, the things that, there's some negatives that did show up, and in times, throughout the course of the game that we have to get better at, or they will cost us. And, but when you look at, those areas of the want to and the determination and the training, I mean, it goes across the board. And I think that every position has embraced that, and they have to continue to embrace that, for us to be what I know we can.
Peter.
Don't worry, it's not a 2-pointer. So with the loss of Roy Dell, just how much you want to do with the shape up with the running back room, especially with Keziah and Cam Davis in the mix
Yeah, I think that was, I mean, it was great to see you. Keziah score a touchdown there in the game the other day. You had a couple good runs in it. You know, I think Ooze showed that he belonged, and, you know, we had a lot of confidence coming in, but I mean, he had some great runs, you know, there in the game. You know, one of my favorite plays, and you know, I mentioned that, I mean, the Gavin Sawchuk was outstanding in that game. I mean, his touchdown run was a thing of beauty, and I mean, you saw balance, you saw strength. I mean, you know, there was a lot of white jerseys that were getting, you know, pushed into the end zone with his feet, and then he had a couple of Garnet guys to come help at the end. But he was, you know, I'm really pleased to seeing him come in, and I'll tell you, like, you know, Cam Davis, you know, he's taking some positive steps, and you know, I think he's done, you know, specifically had a little you know, nagging injury there in fall camp and missed a little bit of time, but you know, I thought this last week, you know, you saw him back into having you know, the burst that we knew was there. You know, being able to see, you know, a little bit of that confidence showing up. I mean, he's a great teammate, a guy that's going to look to make an impact anyway. So, you know, I'm, you know, obviously, anytime you go without, you know, you know, a great player, and I think Roydell is that for us. You know, it's, you know, it does hurt, and I mean, these guys are going to have to all, you know, pour into to kind of fill the gap and to go perform.
We'll stay there for Liam.
Coming back to the physicality and the heart, the willingness of the receivers to be blockers. We saw Deuce down the field on Makai's touchdown, and there was multiple instances where they were just doing the dirty work. What does it say about those guys, especially because they want to be the ones catching the ball, making the plays, but for them to kind of take that step back?
Yeah, I mean, they want to win. And, you know, once again, like, you know, one of the biggest plays of the game was Squirrel White, 3rd and 11. Like, that was the, if you'd say, where's the spark play? That was the play that we needed. You know, first drive, you know, and you know, I think that was Squirrel's only catch in the game. And, you know, you felt Squirrel White in the game, though. And, you know, coming off being injured and, you know, really getting this week, I think that's still, he's about to see a continued, you know, burst into the what he's going to be able to do impacting this offense. But in the moment of truth, the ball came to him, one-on-one situation, and he went and he did his job. And you know, we saw that across the board. You know, you mentioned Makai. You know, in a couple situations, you know, Deuce had a you know, a couple catches. You know, obviously Randy had a 3rd down catch. I mean, those things. But when it's an opportunity for you to go impact the game and to do it in the run game with your physicality, or you know, whether it's a complimentary route where the ball doesn't come to you and still to give everything that you have, I mean, that's what it takes to win. And so, you know, this is a team that, you know, got strong desire, and we got to continue to build upon it.
Brendan?
The Desir brothers, their physicality, I don't know, we heard good things about them, but to see the way they held up against guys who were bigger than them, I guess, how impressive was that? And then
That's already a 2-for-1. It's 2 brothers.
I did love that they substituted in at the same time together. That felt poetic. And then on Daniel Lyons, I know he'd been developing through camp, but his production, his versatility is
Good question.
all over the place.
Yeah, Daniel Lyons was a guy that I thought, you know, that was, you know, kind of been on Daniel this offseason. Just, you know, he was coming off injury. I mentioned him last week coming into, like, I was excited because I saw the last 2 weeks you started to see, hey, this is the guy that I know he can be. And I thought he played a really good game and made some impactful plays. You know, not perfect, but, you know, obviously there's going to be some areas for growth. But, you know, he was impactful in the game, played with, you know, great motor. Excited for the step that he can take. With the Desir brothers, I mean, those guys, they're you know, they're built different. I mean, I say that in the best positive way. I mean, they're you know, they got great desire, want to. You know, they bring physicality and edge to each play. Still got a lot of areas of you know, of growth there in front of them. Just, you know, that was their first college game, and you know, going into it, you know, we heard plenty about the offensive line we're going to face and, you know, what that was going to look like. And you know, those guys didn't play like freshmen. They played like guys that wanted to go out there and show who they are and what this team can be. And you know, the depth of our defensive line, I thought Deontay McCray, you know, showed up, did some good things. I thought Darryl was extremely disruptive. You know, Jason Jenkins had his moments of you know, you see that and there's been some depth that has absolutely been established, and where that can go, I mean, I'm excited for. And so you know, we'll continue to push those guys. It was good to have Jaden Jones back out there. You know, just give him a shout out. You know, after, you know, a couple of years of real adversity, you know, dealing with injuries and just staying the course. And I know we got a big hit on the quarterback, you know, there in the course of the game. And know, I'm excited about that group.
Chris?
You spoke on wanting to see improvement this week. What specific areas are sort of a major focus for you over the next 5 days?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of elements of you just, let's say the consistency of our execution, where it's 11, right? You operate in one, understanding leverages, understanding, making sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position within the details of the work. There were times where I thought we were, not as powerful as we could be because of just technical issues, and and it's both sides of the balls where that showed up. We had too many missed tackles there defensively that I think we can definitely clean up. I love the physicality that we showed, but man, we got to make sure that we get an opportunity to get get the guy down, whether it's a quarterback, whether it's plays there on the perimeter. I mean, we have to get those eliminated. And then I thought we did a nice job of limiting the explosive play from a very explosive offense. But just continuing to finish when we get to be around the quarterback. In those we got to create. I thought we had a couple opportunities to be able to create takeaways that we want to be able to finish on. And then special teams wise, there were some very uncharacteristic issues and mistakes that showed up for the amount of time that we spend and invest there that we got to improve upon. And I didn't feel that was in that phase of the game we weren't dominant in special teams. We were obviously really pleased and proud of Jake in going out there, but even in that situation when we rolled the team on with close to 30 seconds and just our operation wasn't as good, new holder, new kicker, just all things in dynamics. And so we basically had to call the timeout, not for the penalty, but he goes through, he kicks it, and then he comes back on the very next play and drill. That is huge to me. And I mean, nobody really talks about it, but that is you got a true freshman kicker, against a top 10 team, and we need him in that moment. And it didn't go exactly how you would probably envision it, but he watched it. Next play, he went out there and was able to execute in that moment. So I thought that was huge. Mac was very solid in what he did. Still can be better. I was pleased with a lot of it, but a lot of areas of improvement had to show up.
Go back over to Corey.
With the passing game, I assume you're always going to want some balance. It's awesome that you ran for 230 yards, but I think you ran 80% of the time. Would you like it to be closer to 50, 60, 40? Is it just what you guys can do against a defense?
It's to go win.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean that's and we felt that the opportunities that were presenting themselves, it was, we were very productive, in that, and there was a couple of opportunities. I thought Tommy, was really good, very efficient, in it, and there's all different
dynamics at play, but we controlled the game, and I thought we did a really good job in being able to do that. And I'm very sure there'll probably be games throughout the course of the season where we're going to have to throw it 30 times plus in the game, and to be able to go and work and execute in that. But it's still, are you ready in your moment? And we did have a couple missed opportunities that we gotta improve upon. But whatever it's got to look like, offense, defense, special teams. I mean, that's what, if you want to compete to the level that I expect this team to compete to. I mean, you got to do whatever it takes. And I saw that in how guys played. I saw that in how guys responded. And you just got to be ready when your number's called.
All right.
You guys brought in a couple linebackers, but for the most part, a lot of these guys have played really well, or guys that were here last year. Is it just another year of college and development, or what have you seen from Blake and Justin, those guys?
No, I thought, I'll give a shout out to Blake. I mean, he, in his plays that he had, I felt him more in this game than I have in this time, and I thought he was productive. I thought he was explosive. Justin has been great throughout camp. I mean, he's growing. You feel his leadership, ownership. All parts of what we're doing. There defensively. The guys that. Some of the guys that Omar, had his plays there in the game, and a guy that we're really excited about. I mean, all three of those guys have grown through this program, and great leaders for us. And then you show what Elijah,
obviously show with Elijah. Stefan had a big sack. Was productive for us. I mean, I like that group. We got a couple guys. AJ Cottrell. We got Caleb expecting to be back here in the very near future. So I'm looking forward to where that unit can continue to grow to just through that competition.
All right, we'll end with Brendan.
You had talked a little bit about after the game with the depth that you guys were able to use on defense, going back, watching film, seeing the way Tony was able to use guys in different spots and the way the rotations would change during the course of the game based on performance. How did you view that all?
For a first game, there's all things like coaches, player. We all talk about we got to own every action that we have, and there's some really good things that we did. I think, and I was pleased with how the coaches worked as a first. Because the other part of it is that was only our second time, due to whatever circumstances of lightning, rain, whatever it was. It was only our second time in Doak Campbell as a team. So it was I guess technically third, but it was we were very limited on our operational opportunities, and so it was something that for coaches. There's a lot of things that we're going to continue to improve upon, but I thought they did a nice job in being able to execute the plans that we talked about, being able to have the adjustments, and still some areas that we get to clean up, as a staff. But I'm proud of the group, proud of the coaches, all the different departments that pour into our players, and I'm happy for our fan base to be able to get that experience in a grand opening or grand reopening of Doak Campbell Stadium at full capacity. It was really special, and so we're excited for this week ahead, excited for the next opportunity, and going to go fight with everything we have to go take that next step.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank